The homecoming is getting frostier and frostier by the loss in Lincoln. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis right here, so lock it in. Please like the videos and, of course, subscribe. That way you turn on the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, which is multiple times throughout the week. Let's talk Huskers. 5-7 last season, 3-6 in the Big Ten. All right, Scott Frost comes in after turning around UCF. Of course, there are a lot of parallels here to what Frost is doing or not doing at Nebraska versus Jim Harbaugh at Michigan to varying degrees. So let's look at it. Scott Frost is a favorite son who won a national championship as a quarterback at Nebraska. So, of course, he is beloved in Lincoln and throughout the state. He was a successful offensive coordinator at Oregon. He goes to UCF. He takes a program that was 0-12 and goes 13-0 with a bowl victory against Auburn. He comes back to Nebraska. Of course, he is going to be the guy to turn it around. He's young, he's tough, he's organized, he's determined, he's a proven winner both as a player and a coach. Of course, he's the guy to get it done. Does it sound familiar, Maize and Blue? Jim Harbaugh, favored son, quarterback, successful elsewhere, Stanford, San Diego, San Francisco 49ers, comes home to Michigan. Of course, he's going to right the wrongs and bring back Michigan to prominence. Hasn't happened to that degree yet. Michigan's been good, but not championship good. I still believe that Scott Frost was a good hire, was the right man, and the choice. Will he pull through? Only time will tell, of course, but I still think it was the hire to make. All right, review the first season. Coming off Mike Riley and his attitude that just didn't fit Nebraska football. He did recruit good talent, but not necessarily the type of talent that Nebraska would fit well under Scott Frost's system. So Frost took his hits early in 2018 with 6 consecutive losses out of the gate. The team played remarkably better down the stretch, not just going 4-2, but consider the 2 losses. They lost on the last play of the game to a top 25 Iowa team. They lost in Columbus against the top 5 Ohio State team, 36-31, one-score loss. They were so much better down the stretch. So things looked great for 2019. Adrian Martinez had accounted for 25 touchdowns the previous season. Scott Frost is a quarterback developer. Does that sound familiar as well? Harbaugh, Frost, quarterback development is on their resume, but they're not able to do it at least through 2 seasons at Nebraska for Frost and Martinez. But Martinez, 25 touchdowns total in 2018, but in 2019, in Adrian Martinez's final 6 games for Nebraska, he had 3 touchdowns. He's taken a step backward as a passer. He wasn't even dynamic, didn't look like anything special with his legs producing big plays. All right, we'll see if he bounces back. True freshman, Logan Smothers. He's the future, but with no spring football, he's got a little shot to unseat Adrian Martinez as the starter. Luke McCaffrey basically has the same skill set as Adrian Martinez, but without the experience. The 2 playmakers on the offense are clearly J.D. Spielman, 49 catches, 18 yards per reception, and 5 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson, 340 yards rushing, caught 40 passes, so they send him out to the backfield as well to try to produce some plays there. Basically, Nebraska's got a number of wide receivers that need to fill in the gaps. They need a 3rd guy, a 4th guy out of Demarion Houston, Jamie Nance, Alante Brown. They need 2 or 3 of those guys to step up. Again, at running back, Dedrick Mills came in as the transfer from Georgia Tech. He's a serviceable back. He's tough. He's hard-nosed. He had a good stretch drive, but he's not an ultra-talented game-breaker type. Again, they get that out of Wan'Dale Robinson when they line him up in the backfield. Ramir Johnson is one to look out for as well at running back. The offensive line did not produce last year. Offensive line, Nebraska, they go hand in hand, but this has been a sore spot for Nebraska football for quite some time. The offensive line only generated the 89th best figure in the nation in regards to yardage from scrimmage. The offensive line That is a horrible statistic for Nebraska football. Nebraska is supposed to win in the trenches, and the offensive line play has not been good. The defensive line play was supposed to be really good last year. It was decent, but they lose their 3 best players. Khalil Davis, 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, plus his brother Carlos Davis, gone. Darian Daniels, gone from the defensive front. That was 102nd in the nation in yards per play against. Senior Ben Still's back, 6.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. And they've got 8 new players coming in to play defensive line. Now, that sounds good, but obviously these guys have no experience. 6 of them are signees out of high school and 2 JUCOs, and none of them really highly ranked. So don't expect a whole lot of playmaking out of the defensive front, and that's not good. Great defensive play starts up front with the defensive line. At linebacker, JoJo Doman's a playmaker, good player, 52 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. Colin Miller as well, 67 stops, 5.5 tackles for loss. They have experienced play in the secondary with senior Markel Dismuke, 67 tackles. And also Cam Taylor-Britt had 49 stops and 3 picks. So they have decent frontline players at the linebacker and secondary spots. The safeties, though, could be a sore spot, and depth is a concern. This defense gave up a 91% success rate in the red zone last year. That is atrocious. All right, let's look at the schedule for Nebraska. This team has to start fast and grab wins and build up the win total early. Don't be surprised if Nebraska football is like 6-1, 7-0, and they're going to need to be most likely. They've got an interesting non-conference date against Cincinnati. No Power 5 opponents in the non-conference, but they do have the Bearcats, the number 1 ranked preseason group of 5 team, and of course right up there with Memphis and Boise State last 2 years actually. So Cincinnati at Nebraska and the Huskers could be an underdog in that game. The Big Ten Eastern Division schedule is not kind. Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers. So the Rutgers win has to be a win. But Ohio State and Penn State, Nebraska is going to be a substantial underdog. And, of course, they've got to deal with the Big Ten Western Division. Minnesota's improved. Illinois' improved. That was only a 42-38 win last year. Wisconsin's the king of the hill. Minnesota's really good. Purdue's going to be better. Northwestern had its worst season in forever. The Wildcats are going to be better. It's not a great division with an elite team, but, man, the depth in the Big Ten Western Division, even Illinois, the given win, the give-me win, not anymore after 6 wins and getting to a bowl game. So for Nebraska, they have to win early because the schedule down the stretch in October and November is brutal. It's Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. What's success for this Nebraska team? Well, they haven't been to a bowl game since 2015. A bowl game. Everybody goes to a bowl game. 80 teams go to a bowl game. Nebraska's got to get to postseason play. And that Cincinnati game is obviously going to be key because they're going to barely get to 6 wins. So don't expect 8-4 this year. 6-6 would be substantial for a team facing this kind of schedule. So most likely that means 6-6 overall, 4-5, 3-6 in the Big Ten, something like that after winning 3 games in conference last year. My thoughts on Nebraska football. Would love to hear from you if you want to leave your record prediction for the Huskers in the comments section or any thoughts about Nebraska, the Big Ten, or the nation. And, of course, leave your requests as well as we start our 2020 team previews right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. See you next time.